the over right here on Mix 1080 AM WUFO. A lot to talk about today in Western New York. And as you know, this is the #1 sports show in the nation, bar none. But before we get started, I must say I would like to extend my deepest sympathy to the family of Mr. Ralph Wilson. Mr. Wilson was one of the classiest owners that I have seen in the NFL. And though at times I was sometimes his harshest critic, there were parts about him that I respected immensely. He never degraded his players in the media or in public, even when some of his players were in the worst of circumstance. If you remember, when O.J. Simpson was on his trial, he never talked badly about O.J. That you must respect a person with his position. After every game, win or lose, since I have been covering the Buffalo Bills for the last 20 years, when he was able to attend the games, after the game in the locker room, he would shake the hand of every one of his players, win or lose. The only difference I saw in him is when they lost, he had a different expression on his face. But he thanked each player for playing as well as they did on that day. With that thought, I have come here today to present a solution to the problems that we have facing us in Western New York with the future of our professional football team here in this area. The purpose of today is to give you the best alternative facing us in the future to secure the Buffalo Bills and other endeavors here in Western New York for the future. In doing this, I also have to let you know that before I came on the air today, I was informed of the passing of my beloved Aunt Hazel. And she was instrumental in the raising of myself and my two brothers. She is the oldest sister of my dear mother. But knowing her, she would want me to go forward with this address, which you will hear over the airwaves. And I guarantee you by tomorrow, you will hear it in the print and on television. There is an alternative solution to killing the taxpayer with having the luxury of an NFL team. We have now come into year 2. We're going into year 2 of the new lease agreement. And a lot of the things that have been said are good. The non-relocation agreement, the penalty, all of those things are good. But they're only short-term solutions to an inevitable problem that will come down the road, and you do the math. The working capital given to the professional football team is now $3 million per year. The operating expense reimbursements is $2,913,000 per year. And the game day expenses, which is now 10 games with the canceling of the game in Toronto this year, is now $1.818 million per game for 10 games. That total is $18,180,000. The capital improvements allowance for our professional team is now $4,600,000 minus $800,000 a year that they are paying in rent, which now comes out to $3,800,000. All of these together add up to $24,093,000 plus $3,800,000, which is a total of $27,200,000 $893,000 on the burden of the taxpayer. If there are 925,000 residents in Erie County, that comes out to $30 per year of your support to our professional franchise. Do I think it's worth it? Yes, I do. But today was the day that the founder of the Bills, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, was laid to rest. The church where his private funeral services were conducted, was Jefferson Avenue Presbyterian Church, which is most fitting for you to know that there was a time ago when this team played on Jefferson Avenue at the old War Memorial Stadium, fondly known as the Rock Pile. In leaving there, it began an exodus of businesses leaving the city of Buffalo. This once proud city, which was the hub of all Great Lakes, was beginning to die. With its team moving to the suburbs and the steel industry leaving for outsourcing overseas and the car industry leaving this area, it brought about a troubled time in the city of Buffalo and Western New York. But on the horizon today, there is a new formula that has been put together by private developers along with the world-renowned development and design team of HKS that will offer us the best alternative towards keeping an NFL team and bring you a return on your dollar investment. For years, many have railed against government subsidizing of professional football teams and franchises here in Western New York. The outcry has usually fallen on deaf ears of elected officials because no one wants the stigma of losing a professional franchise on their watch. The Buffalo Bills have used tremendous fan loyalty of this region for more than 50 years to muscle their way to some of the sweeter deals in professional sports. The Buffalo Bills currently receive more than $24 million a year in government assistance to defray their operating costs. The question must now be asked is, how do we define how we go from here? The good news is that there is a model on the horizon that turns these old ideas upside down and makes the taxpayer investment in professional franchises profitable. Yes, that's what I said. And now I'll explain how we are now moving in that direction. Understanding that the venue must be multifaceted, and part of the convention space is the first step. Ralph Wilson Stadium is one of the most outdated stadiums in the country. It is only used now 8 to 10 times a year, but its location is nowhere near the largest real commercial district in Western New York. For us, a multi-use facility is the mandate. It must be located in a complex that is equipped with a new convention center, a new hotel, retail space, and its real anchor tenant is not the football team. No. It becomes a one-of-a-kind North American sports interactive museum brought to you by the world-respected Strong Museum of Rochester, New York. All of this creates a constant flow of events which will create new revenues that will pay for the luxury we love that we call the Buffalo Bills. The architectural firm HKS Incorporated follows the model of Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, which they designed, which since its opening has grossed more than $2.25 billion, attracted 4,700 new hotel rooms, 4 new hotels, 4,200 permanent jobs, and helped to stimulate a region that helped to create 60,000 human services and incited the tourism industry into creating these 60,000 jobs. Also, it was awarded the region's first Super Bowl in 2012, which grossed more than $642 million. during its Super Bowl week. Though HKS Incorporated is following the Indianapolis model, its plans are much better for Western New York. And we should have more of an economic impact than what Indianapolis is experiencing. Have you been watching the NCAA March Madness? On last night, you saw Lucas Oil Stadium filled to the rafters. Why cannot not be for Buffalo? Not the first tilt of the NCAA, but when you get to the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8, where you must have a facility like this that can accommodate the huge demand of the following of these teams. This is what HKS Incorporated, along with the Greater Buffalo Sports Entertainment Complex, has put forth for Western New York for the last couple of years. This is a private investment proposal, which during its time already, you have seen over $1 million put forth in studies that the new stadium working group that has just been assigned has not even started. Private industry is the best solution to our problem. If you grant HKS Incorporated and the Greater Buffalo Sports Entertainment Complex a land option on the Outer Harbor land site, you will find that within 9 to 12 months, they must come back to you with traffic, parking studies, financing, and how this is going to be done. And within 12 to 16 months afterwards, you will be breaking ground. With private dollars, no cost to the taxpayer. That money is on the developer and HKS Incorporated. This is the best solution for the future of professional sports and amateur sports in Western New York. Creating a multifaceted venue that can be used year-round. Lucas Oil Stadium hosted more than 146 extra events last year, whereas the football team only used the facility 8% of the time. This is a different model. You cannot afford to retrofit, renovate anymore Ralph Wilson Stadium because it's only dedicated for football. And the burden falls on the taxpayer. And now you are paying close to $28 million per year for the luxury of having a professional football team. This is something that we have to consider in a state that is overtaxed already. New ideas must be revenue producers, job producers. What's not being talked about by others that are asked about this plan is how many jobs will it produce, Mr. So-and-so? Well, they'll have 10 to 15,000 living wage jobs, whereas 25% of those jobs go to people of color and women. That there should be a designated number for the poor and the disfortunate. That is what Western New York needs. That is the best way to fight urban blight and dilemmas that are affecting all of us. You don't have a high crime problem when people are working. A person with a living wage job is not going to bust you upside the head and try to rob you. That just does not happen. What we need to do is join in and ask each and every one of our elected officials and representatives that yes, the working group, you should meet, you should discuss things. But in the meantime, we need the granting of a 9 to 12 month land option to the private investment group that as you are gathering your information, the private investment group is ready to go because it is the best alternative. This will only be done if the people and the citizens and the taxpayers of Western New York make a demand. Now there's a way to satisfy everybody. The design that HKS has employed is within the framework of Frederick Olmsted's vision for a city in a park-like setting. There are those that are supporting the Gateway Park project. We have an offer for you And that is that project requires 120 acres. Our project is 150. There's 384 acres or more on the Outer Harbor land site. We will make that part of the project part of our plans and defray the cost to the taxpayer and ensure you more public access to a clean and environmentally friendly environment. Because the design of the new downtown stadium complex is state-of-the-art and environmental friendly. It has a water filtration system that makes sure that no pollution is put back in our beloved Great Lakes and rivers. This is what we've been talking about all along. And in the process, we will create 10 to 15,000 jobs during the 5 to 8 year build out. And once the NFL and eventually a new owner sees the commitment that Western New York has made towards the NFL and increasing the NFL brand's value, that owner won't be thinking about leaving Western New York, nor will the other owners who need new stadiums allow a municipality to invest that kind of money and allow an owner to move, because you need 3/4 vote to do that. Most of you know these truths. This is a matter of us getting out of the way of our own agendas and supporting something that supports all the citizens of Western New York. So the decision must be made by you. You must insert pressure on those that you elected, that it's time for them to stand up for what is best for all the citizens of Western New York. And the best way to keep professional football in Western New York is to create a multifaceted facility that will accommodate events year-round and defray that close to $28 million tax subsidy burden that is on each and every one of us by having an NFL team here. By year 7, you would have paid to this NFL franchise $236,251,000. Lucas Oil Stadium, since it's opened, grossed more than $2.25 billion. HKS and the Greater Buffalo Sports Entertainment Complex wants to partner with government, not fight with government. In doing so, they have already committed in writing 10% of those profits. If you divide that by what Lucas Oil Stadium has brought in, that's $450 million into the treasury of the landholder of the Outer Harbor. Is there any public investment there? Of course there is. Infrastructure, bridges, ways to inform the traffic. All of that is already in your budgets. So this is a return on your investment. If you keep putting money into a football-only facility, it is a dead end on your investment, because according to the information we were given, you are only getting in $20 to $40 million in payroll tax to the whole state system. This is a lot more on your investment. So this is the alternative. We've already done site studies. The Working Stadium Group, which is a public entity, will use tax dollars to do what private investment has already done. Why should we repeat this and put this on the taxpayer? I had the privilege of discussing this with the chairman of the Republican Party a few months ago at their fundraiser, in which I was just an impartial guest. He loved the idea. Why don't you? The reason is that Buffalo and Western New York needs to stop the bureaucracy, stop the private agendas. Let's do things that are in the better interest of all its citizens, creating 10 to 15,000 jobs at living wage job scale, All of those revenues would be coming back into the city. Plus, whoever the landholder is declared to be, which I don't know at this time, which I believe is the city of Buffalo, they would get 10% of that $450 million amount that we saw with Indianapolis. That has been the message that we have been saying for the last 3 to 5 years. George Haziotis, Nick Strasik, myself, and the entire legal and financial team of the Greater Buffalo Sports Entertainment Complex, along with HKS, are prepared and ready to go to work today. I'm asking you, please, ma'am, and please, sir, give private industry a chance to do its work. It will cost you nothing. The moment the working stadium group begins to meet, it will be on the dime of the taxpayer. If they want to conduct a study, it's the taxpayer that will pay for it. And we are paying for it now. If you give the 9 to 12 month land option to the Greater Buffalo Sports Entertainment Complex and HKS Incorporated, you get your studies done with private money that costs you nothing. Why would anyone be against that? Plus, we're going to give you that gateway park that all of you long for. And we're going to build a facility similar to what they've done in Chicago, similar to what they've done in Pittsburgh. If you go to Cleveland and all those cities, their stadiums are right on the waterfront. So people talking about there's no way to get in and out, of course there are going to be changes. That's the only way you make these things work. But after the 9 to 12 month land option period, it is our responsibility to bring those answers to you. Also, we've offered to pay for the land option, not the property, but pay for the land option. What better option do you have? Should the working stadium group go to work and meet? Absolutely. But in the meantime, I guarantee you that they will eventually come to the conclusion that the private investment is the best option, saves the taxpayer money, does not burden government. Also, in 9 to 12 months, you will have an answer to your concerns. And we are willing to pay for that option to continue this process at no cost to the taxpayer. Now, that's an offer that you can't really refuse, can you? It's the best offer for the future. And all respect to the true legacy of what Ralph Wilson did, it will ensure that professional football stays where he found it, back in the city that he founded it in. And it will also be one of the launch pads for economic change for this entire region. And we should dedicate this to him, because he kept that team here with all of the economic downfalls that was befalling Western New York. One of the great things for us to do is to bring them back to the city of Buffalo and begin an economic renaissance that you would never believe will happen to us, similar to what is going on in Indianapolis. This is the best solution on the table. If the working stadium group wants to meet, they should do so. But right now, immediately, not more than next week, a land option should be granted to the private investment group so they can do their work. And in 9 to 12 months, we come back to you. And we also pay for that option, which will probably fund that working stadium group and get them out of your taxpayer pocket. So that should be the first thing the working stadium group does. I have been saying the same thing consistently over the last 3 years. And we've already looked at sites. In downtown Buffalo, we looked at the Larkin District. There's not enough room. The best idea to put there is a commuter hub, which would link Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, and Niagara Falls. We have met with the NFTA and suggested that. Also, the Lackawanna site. They have plenty of land, but unfortunately the remediation hasn't been done. Bethlehem Steel, that is probably the biggest site in Western New York. But it would cost you a tremendous amount and a lot of time to get all that remediation done. And that remediation needs to be done anyway, but unfortunately, that site is not shovel ready. Niagara Falls is just not big enough. The land area that they have will not accommodate the amount of land space that you would need to adequately put a stadium in that area. The Orchard Park existing site, the problem with that site is the old idea that it will continue taxpayer subsidy supporting a professional franchise and goes against the NFL model of partnering with its communities to help stimulate economic success. The comparison by a recent writer to Indianapolis fails to mention that though the existing site was used, the new site was part of a massive convention center space overhaul. And that is what was done in the Indianapolis area. And most people don't realize that part of the plan was to expand the convention space. So it was not just a football stadium, it was more than that. It was 63,000 additional square feet of meeting rooms, 103,000 square feet of pre-function space. The convention center expanded itself to 566,000 square feet. Part of our plan is the building of a new convention center without any cost to the taxpayer. 113,000 square feet of additional meeting room space, 62,173 square feet of ballroom space. And they also built skywalks that connect their downtown buildings so people do not have to go outside in the skywalk system during bad weather. That sounds like something we really need in Buffalo. So this is a thought. This is a solution that we have offered to all of you. Also, we must mention that the private investment proposal, if given a 12-month land option, we are ready to go now. No holds barred. In 9 to 12 months, we pay you for the land option. We must come back and give you satisfactory information to move forward. So with the new downtown stadium complex proposal, ready to go, and if we're given the land option, 9 to 12 months, we must come back and satisfy you with our answers, pay you for that option, and then ready to deliver within months out. After that, you're breaking ground. Your new stadium working group can continue to meet, but the best solution is already on the table. Okay, we're going to go to a short break. What do you think about the solution that we've offered? There's more, but I want to hear from you at 837-1112. I appreciate the media that's here, and we're going to talk to them afterwards. Channel 2 is here, 2 on your side. Private media people are here, and we want to hear from you at 837-1112. What do you think? The private investment proposal or spending more taxpayer money? We're going to take a break and be right back after